Friends, welcome to another video. So today we're going to be doing a week in the life of participating in Galaxyathon by the Bright Side Girl. So I really want this year to focus a lot more time on participating in different readathons that booktubers are hosting and really getting more involved in the book community. So welcome to one of the attempts of this. So as soon as I saw this readathon obviously had to take place because I love sci-fi and I have not read nearly enough sci-fi books this year. Also, please excuse me if I sound a little sick. I am. But I have not read nearly enough sci-fi. I think I've read 2 so far this year, which is really abnormal for me. So seeing this readathon that's very focused on space type reads, obviously I had to participate. Also yes, I love it. So there's 5 prompts and I'm gonna just take you along with me over the next week while I complete them. So I also will link this down below, the readathon, and even though it will have been completed by the time this video goes up, she has announced that there'll be several other really fun readathons coming up over the next year that have all look super exciting and that I want to participate in. So if you want to follow the Bright Side Girl, she has quite a few other fun ones coming. So there's 5 prompts and I have a vague idea what I want to read for all of these. I have a little bit of a vague TBR and we'll go through it right now, and this is the plan that I'm going to try to focus primarily on these. I might switch it up. I might try to read multiple books per prompt. We'll really just see how the week goes. We really don't know right now because I'm a little sick, who knows. And I'm also going to try to focus heavily on audiobooks so that it will be a lot easier for me to get through these. So for the first prompt, set in the future, I'm going to be reading Caliban's War by James S. A. Corey. This is book 2 of the Expanse series. And yes, I have read this before, but I recently was talking to a friend who told me they had just completed the series and it really made me want to keep going forward. So I picked up book 3 and really had no idea what was happening. So I decided to go back, read books 1 and 2 just because it has been slightly long enough that I don't really remember what's happening. So I am going to reread this and then go on to book 3, but this is the plan for this week. And also one of the prompts is space novellas. So there's a few different novellas set in the Expanse world and I think I'm going to try to do those as well. So I know there's one takes place between books 1 and 2, and I think 2 or 3 between books 2 and 3. So once I finish this one, I'll be able to read all of those, and those will be a few good novellas to kind of get into. Another prompt is Planet on the Cover, and for this one I'm going with Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This I started reading a while ago. I have it on Audible, never finished it, and I think this is a really good opportunity to get myself to, because this is book 2 in a series as well. The first one is Shards of Earth, and I really loved it. It was like this epic space battle, all of this different like fighting between alien races and this type of people called, or this type of like, I don't even know if they're people but or a planet or some type of creature, but these things called the architects, who come in basically with the pure goal of destroying civilization. I really enjoyed book 1, so I'm definitely like, I want to keep going on this series, and it's another like very epic sci-fi world that yes, I really enjoy. For the next prompt is space royalty, and I'm going to do something kind of weird with this one and read Captive of the Horde King. So this, I believe, is an alien romance, and part of why I want to read this is I've had it in the back of my mind for like months now that I want to do a reading vlog reading alien romance books. So this could be one of them that kind of like sets us off and kind of like actually gets me going on it, because I've been like talking about doing this for months now, and this could be one that I actually maybe want to go forward with, but don't really know too much about it, but I've heard a few people say it's good. And then for the final prompt, which is stars in the title, I'll be reading The Calculating Stars. So this one is a huge meteorite falls to Earth, and it obliterates like a huge part of the east coast of the US. And so there's an ensuing climate cataclysm that will soon render Earth inhospitable for humanity. And we're following a woman who's very much driving to become the first lady astronaut, is what it says, is that she's a pilot and mathematician who's earning her place in the International Aerospace Coalition, and with so many skilled and experienced women pilots and scientists involved with the program, it doesn't take long before she begins to wonder why they can't go to space too. I think that this one is very similar to Hidden Figures in a lot of ways, and the different type of sexism that it explains, but I've wanted to read this one for a really long time now, so I'm definitely excited to get into it. So those are what I have planned to read. I am definitely going to be listening to Caliban's War and Eyes on the Void through audio, which should help get through those soon, but I will update once I have some progress in something. Hi, happy Wednesday. I am still sick, and I feel like right now it's just like all nasally, so I'm probably still sounding terrible, but I do have a hair refresh. Got my hair redone earlier today, so actually is looking good for once. And I do have one update, which is that I am on chapter 19 and about 200 pages into Caliban's War. So while I have read this before, I can very much say that this is a very different reading experience for me, because when I had last read it, which I think was in October, it had been over a year since I read book 1. So I really went into it like not remembering anything, and like a lot of what was happening didn't really have that same like weight to it. I didn't remember as much of the characters and like their relationships, their history, and all of this. So this time going in, I just read like Leviathan Wakes, which is book 1, a few weeks ago. So it's like really fresh in my mind. And yeah, it's definitely bringing like such a different reading experience, because I feel like I'm really connected to the characters this time. I'm really like excited about the plot. I'm really looking forward to what's happening. And yeah, it's going much better. Like to the point that I feel like this is probably going to be a 5-star read, whereas last time it was like a 3.5. And yeah, I think just reading these closer together is going to be such a change, like such an important like way for me to do this. And I do have book 3 at my shelf, and I'm gonna grab the others after I'm done these, but yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep reading these close as I can. I did pick up The Calculating Stars yesterday and read like 2 pages, and then that was all I got into before I fell asleep, so I really don't have anything else to say about that one. But so far this is the big progress. It's just that I'm reading this, I'm gonna keep going on it, and I do feel like this is kind of gonna be my focus for the time being. I'm alternating between audio and reading it physically, so I feel like that is a great combination for me too, and definitely making it easier to go like get through this faster. So yeah, those are all the updates for today. Not really a lot of progress, but I'm really hoping that tomorrow I will have a bit more time that I can actually like devote to getting some more things done and getting some stuff done and getting some more reading. And there are like a list of Instagram challenges too for this readathon, and I have not been completing any of them. So that is going to be a goal probably for tomorrow, to start taking pictures for it, start posting them, and like get more on track of that, because I would love to take part in the Instagram portion. So we'll do that tomorrow too. But that's probably all I'll be reading for tonight. I might just keep going on that for a little bit, and yeah, I'll check in tomorrow. So I managed to get very good chunk into Caliban's War, and yeah, I'm a little over halfway so far. Really enjoying it. Like, I honestly don't know what was wrong with me the first time I read it, but I feel like I was trying to speed read it because I didn't really have a lot of time that week, and I really like didn't catch on to so much of what was happening. And also, like, again, it had been a significant amount of time between the first and the second, and that really hindered my reading experience because I feel like I kind of forgot some of the character relationships, and there wasn't like quite as much of that emotional impact for certain things, and like I wasn't as invested in a lot of the character stories as I am this time around. And yeah, really enjoying it. The first book, it's kind of like the potential start of a war between Earth and all of these outer planets that are basically like along the belt is how they call it, but there's actually no, not even outer planets, but there's like Earth and Mars who are potentially at war, and then there's also potentially a war between those and then the outer planets and outer stations, because there is a very high concentration of like different stations, different moons that are all habitated like further out in the galaxy, and all of them have very different cultures, because even though it's probably only been a few hundred years that they've been living out there, like humanity has really adapted to these different gravities, these different ways of life, and it like has even resulted in different physiological changes that you can really tell like who's from Earth, who's not, and all of this. So a huge part of the first book was exploring this potential conspiracy that seems to be a war building and trying to avert a war, and also it kind of brings in a potential alien life form, and this is really a continuation of a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of the ramifications that this has led to, and life on different planets, life on different like moons, and really we're following like the same crew from the first book but also new characters, one of them being like a very high level politician on Earth who's trying to like stop this war and trying to like find a way to maneuver to like stop it from happening. Really good. Really loving it. And I did read a novella, so I actually have one prompt done, but I read again, part of the Expanse series. This is like book 1.5, and it was a really short, like 40-page novella between that mostly just like explored this one character's backstory who we met in the first book, and I have a feeling is going to end up being a very big player in a lot of this like political maneuvering and stuff. So that was interesting. It was very fine. Just like, you know, for what you're getting from a 40-page little story, it was basically just character backstory. But yeah, I'm done a novella, and I do have some others that I will read when this is done. I just obviously need to actually start prioritizing getting this one done, but going very good. Really enjoying what I'm reading so far. Hello, so new day, lots of new updates to give, and basically I've started 2 books so far this morning, and well, really last night I guess, but yeah, I just have 2 books to talk about that I have started, and this is going to be for 2 of the different prompts. So for stars in the title, I have the Calculating Stars, and I'm like a little bit over halfway through it. Loving this one. This one is so good. So this, honestly, I kind of started out hating it because there's very blatant sexism in this one, but it's gotten a lot better. And that was kind of like the point of the story, is that this woman's dealing with a lot of sexism. But let's actually talk about the plot. So we are in the 1950s, and a meteorite falls and hits the Earth, and it basically lands on top of Washington and all of the surrounding area and like completely wipes it out. So it is such a gigantic meteorite that it wipes out multiple cities. It causes a crazy amount of ash to kick up into the atmosphere, and there's also, because it landed in water, it is causing a significant amount of steam to enter the atmosphere, and really seems like it's going to be messing up potential weather patterns. Like specifically, it is so huge that the main character, she's a mathematician, and she has predicted that this is going to end up being an extinction level event. So basically, the effect of this meteorite is that it causes initially a few months of like kind of like almost a nuclear winter type of thing, where the temperatures drop by like 70 to 100 degrees for a few months while there's so much dust in the atmosphere, and then afterwards things get a little bit more normal. They seem maybe a little colder, but like nothing significantly bad. But the prediction is that there is so much steam and water in the atmosphere, and so many things that happened because of this meteorite that within, I don't know, like 50 years, the temperature is expected to rise by over 100 degrees globally and basically bring them into, you know, like a life-ending cataclysm for Earth. So politicians and scientists have decided that the way to deal with this is to start colonizing space, and they have decided to start building a colony on the moon. And we're following a woman who is one of the mathematicians who's involved in calculating like missile trajectories and the rockets. Like very much think of Hidden Figures, the movie, the type of job that the women were doing there. So she is very much one of them. And she is also very much pioneering to be one of the colonists who is sent into space. But basically because of the sexism that is existing, the politicians have all decided that women should not be allowed in space because it could be too, you know, they're too delicate and everything. But, you know, they're trying to build a colony, so kind of need women for that. So she was a pilot during the war, and she's really trying to like get like politicians to change their mind, and she's very actively involved in trying to get all this happening and really like change people's minds and get women to be allowed to go to space. So really enjoying this one so far. Honestly, like once I got past the first beginning part of it, which is like part of why I really don't like reading historical books, which like obviously sexism still exists now, but like a lot of the books that take place in this time, it's just very blatant, and I find it very hard to read. Once I got past that, really loving this. It is a potential 5-star contender and made a good chunk of progress on Caliban's War. Still really enjoying it, but yeah, that's just a bit of the progress I made there. And the other book that I started is my alien romance that I decided to do for space royalty, which is Captive of the Horde King. So I can already tell this is really giving vibes of like Daenerys and Khal Drogo from Game of Thrones. Like this straight up feels like Dothraki like fan fiction, and so much about the like the world and the like the people in the society feel straight up like they're just copying the Dothraki. But basically we are following a young human woman who is on this planet that is controlled by, I think they're called Dakari, the Dakari, who are these like groups of hordes, what they're calling, but they're really like these big groups of traveling armies. And there's 6 horde kings, and all of them travel with their people, with their community, and we don't really know what they do aside from they're there and they fight things. They govern the laws of the land. But this human, her brother gets in trouble because he accidentally burns the crops of her town. And as punishment, the Dakari are coming to kill him. So she offers herself in his place and says that she will go. They can do whatever they want with her. She will go as their prisoner and just let her brother live. And the king, the Horde King, is there, and he decides to take her as his bride. And this is a romance of her kind of as his bride and learning the ways of his people, trying to find a way to settle in, trying a way to find a like fit in, everything. And you can tell that she is kind of like very intrigued by him, getting very interested in this culture and these people. And I am just 100% imagining this as like Daenerys Khal Drogo fan fiction, except like Khal Drogo was kind of an alien with a tail. Basically this is exactly what it is. And honestly, I'm enjoying it way more than I ever expected I would. So I don't know, but I'm really enjoying this one, and it's definitely gonna be a quick read. It's only like 300 pages, so I really have a feeling I will be finishing that off today. I have some time today. I'm off work, so I can get some reading done, and yeah, I think I'm gonna love this one. I'm really excited. So hello to terrible lighting inside my garage, but I'm about to do a workout and I thought I'd just quickly update while the room is heating up a little bit. So because I'm in a terribly insulated garage, it is constantly freezing out here. So I do kind of just need to let the room heat up for about 10 minutes before my workout. So perfect time to kind of talk about what I've been reading lately. I think one of the biggest things to say is that I've made it, actually I finished Captive of the Horde King, and this is going to be shocking. And I honestly can't believe I'm going to say this, but it is 5 stars. I through and through never thought I would experience the day where a alien romance would hit me this hard, and that I would fully just be coming out of it like shocked and awed at how good it was. And you know, this really easily could have been any fantasy creature instead of an alien, and it would have worked. Like, the alien aspect wasn't really that prominent. It was really much more of a human being captured by a group of people who are different from her and a culture that's different. So it truly could have been like any magical creature, any magical species, anything like that, and it would have been pretty much the same story. So I think that's something that I did enjoy, is that it didn't have this really strong sci-fi feel. And even though I love sci-fi, I think that's kind of been one thing that's really scared me off of a lot of alien romances, is that, yeah, it feels like maybe a little bit too weird. And I could see this also being like people who like monster romance, maybe this is kind of the same vibe, but it was really good. I can very much attest to the fact that it is pretty much the exact same thing as the like Dothraki and Daenerys story from Game of Thrones, and very much the exact same vibe of her being taken by these, like, they're not horse lords, but like give the same vibe, and she's a human who is the only one within this, like, this band of travelers, and she is brought in as the queen, and she's trying to find her like space within them and kind of like her way to fit within the group. And by that I mean just like her trying to find a place within this vast horde of fighters and the other people who travel with them, and really trying to become like one with the culture and everything. So really good. Honestly, like, only big difference I would say from the Dothraki is that these aliens had tails, but otherwise, like, you know, they kind of sounded physically similar, so not really anything too weird with that. Like, I find there were definitely a few like anatomy differences that were a little weird, but you know, that was the biggest one. So yeah, very shocked. I loved it a lot, and yeah, it's 5 stars. Like, it is just one of those stories that works so well for me. And yes, I knew, like, I really enjoyed that storyline from Game of Thrones, so yeah, it just worked. I really love the romance, I love the characters, and it just was really like this woman finding her place in the world and finding a way to stand up for herself and what she wants and who she is and just everything, and I loved it. And yeah, I'm absolutely going to be continuing on in the series, reading more from this author, and I'm really happy about that. Like, really intensely pleased. I might actually pick up the second book soon, like maybe this week if I still have time, but I'm really excited. So if you're looking for a good alien romance, this is definitely one. And I do really want to have a video up like in the next month, just talking about different alien romances I've read and liked. And I have a few more to read for that, but I'm definitely been finding some good ones lately. And then other than that, I got in about 70-ish% into the Calculating Stars. Really enjoying it, really enjoying it. So it's still following the same story of Earth is going to slowly be entering an ice age, well, potentially an ice age or I think it's a massive heating event, and they're looking at ways to colonize the moon instead of staying on Earth, so that like if Earth becomes unlivable, there's other options. And we're following a woman who's really trying to pioneer for women to be given this option to go into space as well, and to be astronauts, and like that it shouldn't only be men, there's perfectly competent women who can be part of it too. Really interesting. I'm really enjoying it. It like I was saying, the only thing that kind of is ruining for me is just like the sexism is so rampant, and obviously this is like a result of the times, because this does take place in the 50s and 60s, and it's like very much at this time no women were ever given opportunities to do anything, and even the racism that's present too is terrible. But that's like kind of the point, is that we're seeing this and seeing how women are overcoming it and dealing with it. It's just like, it's very hard to read for that part, and it's very frustrating, and of course I'm getting very angry about those things and a lot of the men in the book, but otherwise it is very good. It is fantastic. Like, I'm loving the math, I'm loving all the science. It is fairly heavy in this book, but the main character is also super interesting, just seeing her trying to become an astronaut and like really all of these goals that she's working towards and everything that she's like trying her absolute hardest to do. So that I definitely find super interesting, and I'm really curious to see like where it goes. Do they go to space? Like, where does this book end? I think it's a series, and I really do think I'm going to be picking up the other books in it too, because it's very fascinating. So yeah, that one's going really good. I don't think it's going to be a 5-star, but I'm definitely getting like a high 4 kind of vibe from it. So really interested to finish that one up. And I think the room has heated up enough, so I'm gonna go work out and get back to reading afterwards probably. Hey, so I have progress. I have things that I actually did. Let me go. I finished 2 books. Okay, so yeah, I finished 2 books. First, The Calculating Stars. Really enjoyed this. I think that it went a really interesting aspect, or it went like in such an interesting way, and I just really liked seeing this like drive to space, and it ended up being very interesting. So there were obviously a lot of sexist elements in this, but it was very much just the world around our main character, and a lot of people fighting on her becoming an astronaut because they don't think women are equipped to be one, and they don't think that women have the right temperament, which was so frustrating. And oh boy, did it ever make me angry. But you know, it was ended up being very satisfying in the end, seeing her overcome a lot of these issues and all of this push against her, and still finding her way to get to space and become like a really famous, important person in this space mission. So I think my only real complaint that I'm going to say otherwise is that I want to see more of the climate impacts on this world. So after it was hit by a meteor, there's all of these predictions that it's going to end up being essentially like an inhospitable world, like very similar to what happened to the dinosaurs. There's a bit of like hints of that, I guess, but not enough to like really show what the world is. And that could very much be because they're predicting it to be on like a long stage, like slowly this is what's going to happen to the world. But at the same time, I really want to see it. I want to see like how the world changes, what happens in it. And I'm kind of hoping that will be something that's addressed in the sequel, which yes, I am definitely going to be putting on hold and trying to get, because I am very into this book and this world. So it's going to be a 4 stars. Wasn't quite a 5, but really enjoyed it. And then I did finish Caliban's War, and this one's going to be between like a 4 and a 5 star for me. Really good. I got so much more out of this reread than I did the first time through, and I'm so happy that I decided to do this before going on to the next book, because it just like completely changed my views on this series, and it got me so invested in a way that I wasn't feeling before. So I'm really happy that I actually did that, and that I decided to like really commit to this read. So this was just really like a continuation of the events of the first book, which is the potential of an interplanetary war and the potential introduction of some new species into the world. And it is just very interesting to see all of these different players and all of these different political landscapes, like who is fighting for a war, who's trying to navigate it, or who's trying to avoid it, and just the way that everybody is working towards it. And all of these different groups all have different goals and are kind of working against each other. Really interesting. And this one brought in a few new characters who were just really fantastic, and I think really added something interesting to this book. So I am incredibly pleased with this one, and like I feel so happy that I reread it and like got a completely different experience out of it, because I did enjoy it the first time. It just didn't impact me nearly in the same way, because I didn't have that like in my head of who the characters were, and like there just wasn't something that like really hit for me of who everyone was, what was happening, what was the background and the emotional impact. But truly did a fantastic job this time. So 2 more books, and I do have 1 more day of this readathon. I honestly don't know what my plan is for tomorrow. I don't really know how much I'm gonna actually aim to get done. There's a good chance that it won't be a lot, but yeah, that was I'm kind of feeling a little mentally done, but we'll see tomorrow if I do get anything else read. But otherwise, I am feeling really fantastic with everything that's been done so far this week. Hi, so it's the next day and I'm just coming in to do a very quick outro to this vlog and this readathon. So I did not complete any more reading. I didn't do anything else for this, and we're just gonna finish it off here where I was. And yeah, it ended up being pretty good overall. Like I'm pretty proud of how much I managed to read, and feels good. Like I had a lot of really good reads with this. So if we're looking at my little sheet here, we accomplished all except for one of the goals, which was planted on the cover. And I was originally planning on reading Eyes of the Void by Adrian Tchaikovsky for this one, and just didn't have time to listen to it. But otherwise, I think we did pretty good. So for Set in the Future, I read Caliban's War, 5 stars. So I'm very happy of that one. And I'm really excited to keep going on in the Expanse world. I feel like doing this has like completely reinvigorated my love for this, and I'm really excited to keep going into this series now. So Space Royalty, we did Captive of the Horde King, again 5 stars. So I got really happy about that one. I'm shocked at how much I loved it, and I really want to read the rest of the series now and see like what happens in this world. 4 stars in the title, we did The Calculating Stars. 4 stars, again I want to read this series more. I'm really excited excited. And space novella was The Butcher of Anderson Station. I don't really rate my novellas just because I find unless it's a 5-star novella for me, I don't really end up rating them because, I don't know, sometimes it's hard to really have a strong feeling about like a 30-page book. So that one we're just gonna say unrated. But we read 4 books here and I'm so thrilled about how this went. So I'm just gonna be logging this vlog off here. If you haven't already, I would love if you would consider subscribing, and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Bye.